afternoon, Lenox and Parker. This is Christal Jordan, your editor-in-chief, and I'm coming to you all with a conversation that I think is really on the minds of most of us nowadays. We are in April 2026, and although so many of us are consumed with what's going on politically and socially, most of us are very, very concerned about our assets. What are our finances doing? Are we going to be in a place to where some of us will be retiring and moving on? Others are in the crux of their career and their earning potential. Others have parents that they're trying to take care of. And then some of us have young children or young adults that are entering that first stage, buying a house, getting into the stride of their career. But regardless of where you fit on that scale, finances and your future is definitely a part of what is on your mind. So as we move into the middle of 2026, we wanted to bring you a conversation with a woman that we think can answer some of these questions, specifically when it comes to real estate and home ownership. And is this a good investment? And should we still be looking to do that? My guest today is Terrica Lynn Smith. She is a $60 million real estate developer, investor, and mentor with over 21 years of business experience under her belt. She also has a story that I think a lot of our viewers are going to connect with. She went from being a teenage mother experiencing homelessness under a bridge in New Orleans to owning the property and the land surrounding that very bridge. After failing the real estate exam 7 times, Terrica refused to quit. And eventually, not only did she master that exam, she also has mastered the industry and now dedicates her platform to teaching others how to build sustainable generational wealth through real estate. Please help me welcome today's guest, Terrica Lynn Smith. Thank you so much for joining us today, Terrica. We appreciate you coming in. And as I said, I think that here at Lenox and Parker, most of our readers and listeners are really concerned about, their finances. We're in a really uncertain time, and people really want to know where they should be investing their money, if they have good investments with the things that they have. And so we're really excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be on the show and just be able to add value. So thank you again for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I love your hat, Investor, and I'm just going to jump right into it. I think for as long as I can remember, when I started thinking about, which was probably in college, when I started thinking about, how to be smart with my money and what to, once I started making some, what to do with it. We've always heard that real estate investment is a way to go. It seems to be one of those things that no matter where you are, no matter what you're hearing, is something that people always say is a big part of being able to build wealth. Do you think that in today's market, regardless of where we are, right, regardless of if you are struggling with that first job and just making a 30 or 40,000 a year, or if you're at a place where you have a little bit more capital to play with, is real estate investment a surefire thing, or something that we all should be looking at as far as investing?
That is such a great question. And so what I would tell you is the only thing they're not making anything anymore of is land. They're not making any more land. And so that means that there's a limited supply throughout the entire world that can be owned. Okay. And if you think about the amount of real estate that is consumed by water, it's even smaller amount of what can be owned. And so when you ask me if you can own, if you should be owning and if you should be buying in a market like this and or any market, I'm going to say you should always be looking at real estate investments and ownership as a wealth building tool that you can use. I think what happens with real estate is that it gets so watered down, and it gets it's almost like this bad character. It reminds me of people when they think of a car salesman, right? They think of this icky, yucky feeling like they're gonna sell me and all of, and so we really got to get back to the roots of what real estate is. And you've had so many people throughout the years, right, that has come through and has caused people a lot of harm, that has stigmatized the industry, and it makes people cautious. It makes people think that majority of the people are like that, make them second guess investments.
Mm-hmm.
We consume. Okay. And if you talk about African Americans, we are the highest consumers in the world,
Mm-hmm.
which means that we are buying. But the things that we're buying, they don't transfer. They don't leave an inheritance, and I'm not talking about the ones that have businesses and things like that. I'm talking about, the billion-dollar hair industry that we've built. I'm talking about Mercedes Benz, how we saved it from a recession. I'm talking about people buying depreciating assets, and I would argue liabilities, and then turn around and walk completely past what would be able to be passed on for generations and generations to come. I am someone who's never received an inheritance in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I've never received anything, not even a photo album collage. I've never received any type of inheritance. And so I am extremely I'm extremely focused on making sure that that cycle ends with me. And so when you think about real estate, a lot of people believe you're going to get rich overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think some people got the wrong idea of what wealth is. They
Right.
put together $1 million and say, okay, it didn't make me $1 million. I am
Right.
not wealthy. And so when you start looking at what people consider wealth, like why are you saying that you want $1 million out of this industry and yet you go start a business and or you go buy a stock and or you go buy Bitcoin and you're not demanding that same exact play. And
Mm-hmm.
so I think what happens is you have all these infomercials, you got social media where people are saying that, they're selling people on a lifestyle, right?
Right.
On cars that they rent, luxury cars, and they're selling them on luxury big mansion houses. And they're selling them on all of the billionaires brands, Louis Vuitton, Gucci. You see them in their Van Cleef. You see them in all of that, and they associate that with
Mm-hmm.
wealth, and they associate if they buy real estate because this person is saying, hey, if you buy this course or you do this, you're going to live like me.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lie.
It's a
It's a
lie.
lie. It's a lie. And
Let's go.
yeah,
Let's start there. I love the fact that let's start with just cutting the BS of what this is. And I
mhm,
think a lot of this is probably because of social media. And so you
yeah,
have people that are lifestyle influencers who are presenting an image of, like you said, the wealth that
mhm,
includes all these name brands, all these ridiculously expensive cars and traveling and all of this. And it's probably muddied the water. So I want to take it back.
yeah,
Let's take it back to where you started from, because it sounds like your
yeah.
story. I know a little bit about it, but I'd love to hear from your words. How did you get started coming from where you were without receiving an inheritance, without receiving maybe some of the information that you have today? How did you
Mhm.
get started with real estate? What was that initial connection for you?
Yeah. So what a lot of people don't know about my story, they hear the foster care part, but what I don't talk about enough is that when I was in foster care, I was what they called a runaway. So I would run from foster home to foster home. They would transfer me from one to the next to the next. And eventually I ended up at 16 years old, traveling throughout the United States, selling magazines all around the world. Every 2 weeks, we're traveling to a different state. So if you ever had somebody come knock on your door, ring the doorbell, and offer to sell you magazines, you're probably living in a really nice neighborhood, and you're probably on the surface look like you're doing really well. So I
Mhm.
would knock on doors and I would sell magazines to these people, and I would always ask them, so what is it that you do for a living?
Mhm.
And they would say, I'm in real estate. And it was just a seed that they planted. I didn't know that it was going to be a seed that was going to later be watered or anything like that. I just remember hearing it. Okay. And so
Mhm.
I ended up getting pregnant at 17,
Okay.
homeless, pregnant at 16, had my baby at 17, homeless at 17, up under the Claiborne Bridge in New Orleans. Okay. It's like my life is just a wreck at this point. Okay. It's been a wreck my whole entire childhood, but really it's a wreck now because I done brought this child into this world and I can't even take care of him. So
Mhm.
I ended up somehow going back on the road. And then I got pregnant again. So 19, I have 2 kids. Hurricane Katrina come, 2005. I'm in New Orleans. I'm trapped. I think I'm about to die. I cannot swim. They said the levees are breaking and we got to get out. Up until this point, I have no real estate education. I have no real estate knowledge. All I know is a seed that didn't even prosper even during Hurricane Katrina. So after being displaced by Hurricane Katrina and ending up in a new city, I never wanted to rely on the government to come save me again in my life. Right? I never wanted to be called a refugee on the internet or TVs or whatever they was calling us, New Orleans at that time, right? And so I wanted to do something different. And I remembered after Hurricane Katrina that people were saying that they were in real estate. And so I ended up signing up for a real estate course. I went in person to, take the course. I failed that exam 7 times because I didn't come from words like mortgages, and I've never heard of ownership, and I never heard of property taxes and insurance. Like those were not words that were ever talked about in my upbringing in foster care, on the road, or anything like that. And so by the time, we get settled after Hurricane Katrina, I go to real estate school. I failed the exam. I finally passed it after the 7th time. And I think I'm going to become rich, and it doesn't happen. Okay. Because I associated real estate with knocking on those doors, seeing those big old houses and saying, you know what? I want to go do that. Okay. But it wasn't until my first year in real estate that I realized that it's not going to just happen by a broker giving you leads. My broker gave me nothing. And in my first year of real estate, I made $5,000. Okay. I could have made more at McDonald's working an entire year. But I knew that I had to keep on going because I already knew where I come from. So if I ever wanted to quit in life, I know how to survive in the projects. I know how to survive on pork and beans and rice. I know how to survive on mayonnaise sandwiches. You understand what I'm saying? Salmon and rice. Let's go. Spam. Okay. I know how to survive. But I don't know what's on this side that's waiting for me. And although I didn't have that exact mindset, I was a fighter. So my childhood, I had to fight. My teenage years, I had to fight. So during this time, I'm still just in fighting mode. I'm still just trying to, fight to get to the next level. And, you fast forward the next year, I ended up knocking door to door, asking people to sell their properties and list their properties with me. And they gave me a chance and an opportunity. And so from there, that's really how I got my start in real estate. And I want to share this because I think it's very important. You don't need a real estate license, but it's where I started. But from my real estate license, I saw that from just knocking on doors. And then I saw people building. So I saw that. I saw people investing, and I saw developers. And so I understood that if they could do it, I can do it. So I started investing. And then I started building new construction, and then I start developing. So I seen that if let's just say Mary is her name, can develop a subdivision and put her children's name on the subdivision and her children's name on street signs, then Terrica Lynn Smith should be able to do it too. And so at different points in my life, I was exposed to certain things that I could not unsee that made me say, hey, if that was done that way, then for sure I can do it.
Yeah, I love that. That is a lot of inspiration. I appreciate you sharing that. Especially, I think what resonated with me most was that seed was planted in you from knocking on those doors, and you never forgot that, and that helped propel you forward. I want to talk a little bit. I know we don't have a whole lot of time, but I want to get 2 things out. I want you to talk about after that, the difference and learning some of the things that you learned as you went from earning $5,000, obviously at this point, to over $60 million. What are some of the learning curves that you can share? Because people don't always share what they learned. See, I see where you started here, ended up with $6 million, what are some of the things that you learned that you are
Mhm.
available now as a resource to
Mhm.
help others, to have that information so that they may not have to make some of those same falls or those same mistakes?
The first thing I had to do was I had to break up with poverty.
Mm,
I had to say, I hate poverty. Poverty does not have a color.
mhm,
Poverty is a way that you think. It influences your decisions, and it controls every single thing that you do. And
mhm,
I had to realize that I had a poverty mindset. So you would be like, well, Terrica, what is a poverty mindset, right? So when you would say things like, I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul. Okay,
mhm,
that's a poverty mindset. Whenever you're saying that, you you buying things you really can't afford for people to impress people who don't really care about you, but you're
mhm,
doing it because you care more about the look of something. I
mhm,
had to break that off of me because I couldn't keep up with the Joneses. I couldn't keep up with the Johnsons. So that was something that needed to be broken off of me. And I had to denounce poverty. So even in my finances, when I used to bank on the NSFE covering my charges that I knew I was spending money that I did not have. That's a poverty mindset, right? Like knowing, okay, this $5 charge just cost me $35 because I got to pay $30 in an NSFE and then $5 for the actual item. And so I got sick and tired of seeing the negatives in my bank account, seeing the way money was coming in and going out. I
mhm.
had to break up with poverty. And so I would tell people, like, evaluate yourself and ask yourself, hey, are you in a relationship with poverty? Like, why doesn't money grow with you? Why doesn't it want to stay with you? Why? Because money, when you are focused, like if you're saying, hey, I am income generator, like I generate income, it should be coming continuously and it should flow easily, right? And so
Mhm,
I don't love money, like I don't covet it, but I have a great relationship with it where I'm able to build with it. And
mm,
so I would say in the relationship with poverty. And another thing I would tell people, especially within our community, is that the transfer of wealth is from the impatient to the patient. Warren
mm.
Buffett said
Oh,
that.
that's good. That's really good.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
impatient to the
I
patient. Wow.
Yes. So they bank on us being impatient every single time. In a
Wow.
down market, investors are banking on you to get rid of your house every
Yeah.
single time.
Yeah.
So when you realize the transfer of wealth is from the impatient, instant gratification, and it transfers to the patient, the delayed gratification, you
Mhm.
start making different decisions. So I
Man,
hope that helps.
yeah, I'm gonna put that on the screen for the rest of this conversation because that is so true. It's like we pay for convenience and that's impatience,
Mhm,
right? So
mhm.
yes. All right, let me ask you this because I talked to you a little bit before we got started about just the younger generation, right? A lot of them
Yeah.
are not necessarily marrying as early. They're not having children as early. They're really focused, which I'm appreciative for my children, the fact that they really are focused on quality of life. A lot of them like to travel. A lot of them don't want to feel like they're tied down to being in one place. What advice would you give a young person who's got, a great job and is, has money coming in, but they don't necessarily
Mhm,
want to feel burdened or tethered or stuck to a home. They don't have a family yet. And they really just want to enjoy quality of life. Young people feel like they are entitled to travel and to have these experiences.
yeah.
And a lot of them don't necessarily value get the two cars, the two-car garage, the white picket fence. That's not their vision.
Mhm.
What would be your advice to them when it comes to home ownership?
I would say home ownership and just investment, because I believe the younger you start investing, the quicker you retire.
Mhm,
My daughter started at 15 years old. All my children understand personal financial statements. They also understand the bliss of a marriage. I've been married 22 years to my husband.
mhm,
My son is 22. He just married his wife. She's 20. We just had their wedding a few weeks ago. My daughter, my daughter that's 19, her boyfriend is about to propose to her within the next 3 months. He just asked for our blessing. Then you have my oldest daughter who's in pursuit of her husband. So I would say that it goes into the teaching and the education of what we want to share. I've always incorporated my family as important as my career as important as my investments as important as my relationship with God. I've always made each and every last one of them a priority. So I've never created balance between any of them. There's not one thing that's more important other than God, of course, right? And so it's God, it's my husband, it is my family, and it's my career. And I've always operated like that. And so when you say the younger generation is they're wanting to be more free and they wanting to be able to do more things, I don't necessarily believe marriage is for everyone. But I do believe those who believe in marriage and believe in that white picket fence and home ownership, they're gonna acquire it, right? But I would say to those who are very free spirited, right? You are living your life based on your own actionable capabilities. That means that if you do not build something that operates while you sleep, that pays you while you sleep, you will work until you die, period. So while you are young, start replacing your income, whether it's one property at a time. You can do a 4-unit deal, right? And guess what? You don't even have to deal with the headache of it. You can hire a property management company to come in and handle everything for you and just send you a check. I have investors that never came to their property, never seen it, but they get a check every single month. And I believe that we have to start showing the realness of your job will replace you the next day. Your career will replace you the next day. You may be the best writer today, but the moment you go down, it's the next man up. So while you're in this season of your prime, be building on the back end, because you will slow down, whether you want to get married and or you just want to retire and or you just whatever it is, you will slow down. So you want to make sure when you're ready to slow down, you don't got to ask nobody for permission. You want to make sure when you're ready to slow down, your income is not interrupted. You want to make sure when you slow down, if COVID happens, that you don't got to be forced to take an injection that you don't want to take. You can just leave because you just replaced your income. And so I think that we got to start communicating the importance of replacing ourselves. I'll give one quick story. I know we're short for time, right? But I have a friend. He is he is a R&B artist. He's a singer, and he had a stroke, and he had shows that were, that booked him. Okay, but he had a stroke.
Yeah.
So after his stroke, he got out the hospital, and because because in his prime he did not plan correctly, he had to go to the show and lip sync.
Wow.
To still be able to get a check. So lean not on our own understanding and our own capabilities. That means we must multiply. That means we must do more than what we can do ourselves. We have to believe in more of what we can do ourselves, and we have to start executing those things. And wealth in this community is not Louis Vuitton, it's not Gucci, it's not a Bentley, it's not a Rolls Royce. Okay, it's deeds, it's trust. Okay, it's things, it's businesses, right? I have this quote that I say, I'm passing properties, not poverty, right? And so all of those things that you we see in our community that looks like it's a luxury and that real estate is going to pay for all of that, it won't do that in a year. It won't do it in 2 years. It probably won't even do it in 5 years, because real estate is a transfer business. It's a transfer of impatient people to patient people. And the ones that are patient gets the deal. The ones that are patients win in real estate. And so that would be my advice.
Wow, that was a word. Can I tell you, thank you so much for this has been an amazing conversation, Terrica. We have to have you back. When you come back to Atlanta, I am definitely going to sit down with you. But I mean, first of all, that important, the transfer of wealth is from the inpatient to the patient. That is definitely something I think that we need to understand as a community. And then to your point, the idea of what you're doing today, you don't want to have to do until you die. A lot of us are taking care of our parents, and there was not necessarily to none of their fault, but many of them did not have a plan because they weren't in position. But we don't want to put ourselves, we don't want to put our children. If you are that young person today, you can do something very different. So I love what you said is so powerful. I hope that everybody listening to this, you guys take this, share this with friends, share this with your children, your children's friends, because education is the most important thing. Another thing that Terrica talks about was that poverty mindset, because that frees you from the burden of feeling like you do not have the ability. When you understand that you have the ability and it's all out there, that you don't take losses as personal. You keep moving and you keep investing. Again, Terrica, thank you so much. That was just a power pack 20 minutes. Power pack 20 minutes. Appreciate it. Let people know where they can find you on social media and until we have you back again.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You can find me on all platforms at Terrica Lynn Smith. Terrica Lynn Smith, Terrica.
I love it. Thank you so much. And like I said, until we see you again, we appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, love.
Have a good one. All right.
You too.
I hope you guys got that. Amazing. The most important, the transfer of wealth is from the inpatient to the patient. Hoping that you got from that. Please make sure you visit our website. We'll have more from Terrica on the website. And of course, like I said, we definitely have to have her back, but we appreciate you hanging out with us today. Let us know in the comments what you think of today's conversation, and make sure you go to follow Terrica on all her social media platforms. This has been Christal Jordan with Lenox and Parker. We'll see you guys again soon.